everyone, welcome back to the channel. I hope you're all doing well out there. And today we're going to head back to the early 80s for another slasher film. But before we do that, do me a favor, like, comment, and subscribe. Join me here. I greatly would appreciate that. Also, as always, a shameless plug for my Zazzle and my TeePublic page. I have a link for both of those in the description box below. And today we're going back to 1981, folks, for a little school for a movie called Night School. Yes. Night School came out September 11th of 1981. It's rated R, it's an hour and 28 minutes long, had a budget of $1.2 million, and upon release, it only made $1.6 million. This film was directed by Ken Hughes. Ken Hughes had been around for a while. He had a long career. He directed Chitty Chitty Bang Bang, directed the 1967 Casino Royale, that spoof movie about James Bond. He'd been around for a while. This was actually his last directing effort for a theatrical film. In this film, we got Leonard Mann playing Judd. He's a Boston police detective. This whole film takes place in Boston. Matter of fact, a lot of the places they shot this, I have been to many times. I lived up there for 7 years. So I recognize a lot of the places in Beacon Hill where they shot a lot of this. Rachel Ward, this was her first film ever, plays Eleanor. Drew Snyder plays Vincent. He is a professor at this Wendell College, this college for women. And Eleanor is his assistant, but also his lover as well, and she's pregnant with his child, as we come to find out during the film. So pretty much right in the beginning of this film, we see this young woman. She works at this daycare part-time, but she takes night classes at Wendell College, and she's Professor Vincent for class. And she's on this merry-go-round. The last child from the daycare gets picked up, and she's just kind of hanging out there. And this figure pulls up on a motorcycle, dressed all in black, black leather coat, black helmet with the visor down, and proceeds to torture and kill this woman. And we come to find out when we're introduced to Judd the next morning, and he gets called to the scene, that this is the second murder where the victim was decapitated. And so they're on the case. They go to Wendell College, they interview the professor and anybody who might be able to help them figure out, if there was anybody that was out for this woman, or, does she have any problems, stuff like that. And the investigation's ongoing, and the bodies start piling up as the movie goes along. And to get through this plot a little bit, get on to the positives here, we come to find out that our killer is none other than Eleanor at the end. It's a really well handled reveal, I must say, and we'll talk about that in a second. And she tells Vincent the reason why she killed all these women, because she was jealous and wanted to get them all out of their way, because she wants to marry him, have their child, and start a family. The cops are coming. Vincent decides to sacrifice himself. He takes off on a motorcycle dressed as the killer. He gets killed. And the day he's getting buried, Eleanor gets away with it. And that's the end of Night School. So what to like about this film? I think the acting is pretty well handled here. It's pretty well done. I am not overly familiar with any of these actors, but they do pretty damn good in these roles. It's really well handled. And the directing is pretty well handled too. It's definitely a sure-handled movie. It looks nice. The cinematography is well done. It's well shot. Definitely takes use of that Beacon Hill area of Boston, which I'm very familiar with. I lived there for 7 years. I recognize a lot of the area where they shot this film, even back then. Even though it may look a little different now, it just looked very familiar to me. So yeah, and the runtime, hour and 28 minutes long, perfect. Perfect. If this would have went on any longer, it would have dragged on. Brad Fiedel did the score for this. He had worked with James Cameron on the Terminator films, and the score here is definitely serviceable to the story. It's very indicative of those early 80s slasher films. So while I wouldn't say it's one of my favorite scores or one of the best scores I've ever heard, it serves the story well enough. The gore effects, this movie, there is blood thrown around. It's very Giallo-esque, this film. Definitely feels like a little bit, they're taking a little bit from Giallo films. There is blood thrown around. The decapitations are violent, but you don't really see it. You see the aftermath, like the killer walking away with the head, or the head found in like a bucket or whatever. So it's not overly gory. It's not Friday the 13th, but there is blood here and there is violence. So just to give you a heads up on that one, if you're interested, you can get this Blu-ray on Amazon. I think it was on sale for like $12. I got this for, and I'm sure it's streaming somewhere if you really want to watch this film. They do something smart here before I get into the negatives. They do something smart with Eleanor, since she ends up being the killer. Early on in the film, after Judd goes to talk to Vincent and Eleanor at the school about this young woman who gets killed right in the beginning of the film, she stops at this cafe to have a cup of coffee, and she's walking home, and there's a really creepy dishwasher guy that works there, and he follows her. He's basically stalking her, And she's panicked and she gets into her house finally, and but she's on edge a little bit. They do a smart thing. We're setting her up as a victim early on to throw you off, and they set him up as a red herring, obviously, because these types of films you got to have a red herring, and obviously even Vincent the professor is a red herring. But they do a nice job of making her look like a victim early on, so you're not thinking she's the killer. Now, as the movie moves along, even before the reveal happens, it's pretty obvious it's Eleanor, but I like the reveal. I think it's cool, and I actually like how she gets away with it, even though she's doing really bad shit. I appreciate that they let the villain get a win in this one. So all that, I actually did enjoy this film. I've always heard of this film, I just never seen it, and I actually did enjoy my time with it. On the negative side, this isn't going to blow you away type of slasher film. It's well handled, it's well made, better made than some of the other ones for sure. But it's not going to blow you away. It's nothing mind-blowing here. But it's definitely a solid slasher film. It's not not the greatest thing I've ever seen, but it's definitely a nice, well-made, solid slasher film. This movie was shot in 5 weeks in the springtime in Boston in 1980. And upon release only made 1.6. So this was not a huge... this is a bare bones Blu-ray, by the way. There's a trailer and the movie, and that's it. So don't expect a big special features fiasco here. This is not a special edition. The transfer's okay. It definitely it looks better than it probably did on VHS or DVD. But yeah, at the end of the day, this is a perfectly solid slasher film. You could do a hell of a lot worse, and I would give Night School a 7 out of 10. 7 out of 10 for Night School. If you've ever even heard of this one or seen it, leave a comment down below, let me know. Hit the thumbs up, hit the subscribe button, share this video. I greatly would appreciate that. I'll be back soon with some more reviews, because we're going to do Schizoid, we're going to do The Mutilator, we got other stuff coming up. I'm very excited. We're getting into spooky season, so I'm very excited. We're going to be doing a lot of horror films, so like we always do, but we're going to be doing more on a more regular basis. So be on the lookout for that, but until next time, bye.